Wait, come here. Okay. Thank you. Okay, ready? Ready? I'd like to call the, sorry, Mr. Nelson. I'd like to call the April 20th, 21 meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order. And I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Councilwoman Kathy Condon.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for blessing our town during the pandemic and other times so that it was not quite so difficult for those of us that went through it to get through it. Thank you for all our blessings, and please continue to remember us, our police force, our fire department, our military. We ask this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to begin with the reading of the minutes from March 16th. That's our workshop. You've all received that electronically and had a chance to look it over. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any changes to the minutes? Any modifications? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Seeing none, the council the council meeting no, that was a workshop, I'm sorry. Yes, on April 6th. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there a second? Okay. Are there any changes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Administrative briefing. We've all gotten electronic copies of the administrative briefing. Are there any changes for Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, do you have any changes for us?
Not a change, Mr. Mayor, but I wanted to remind you that the annual Municipal Association meeting will take place this year. They've got it scheduled July 21 to 25th in Hilton Head. So be thinking about it. We'll be needing to get commitments from council members that want to attend in the next couple weeks.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And are there any new town businesses, Mr. Sickinger? New in-town businesses?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is. We have Bunnell Lamons Engineering, Coastal Carolina Fishing Charters, Arby's, and Sig Cox Inc.
Thank you. Amendments to the agenda. I have an amendment I'd like to make. I would like to add a discussion under item 12. I'd like to add a discussion about the annexation of the trail to TMS map number 2798-05002. That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of that amendment, raise your right hand, please. All opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We are adding a discussion item under amendment. Under discussion, we're adding a discussion of the annexation of the railroad trail to TMS map number 00279. When we get there, we'll talk about it. Thank you. Consideration of communications. We have a couple. Will you join me down front? Is Mr. Loveland here? Yes. Join me down front, council, please. Thank you. You have your wife in there? Oh, this is your wife?
My daughter.
Oh, okay. You know, we present or recognize a business of the month every month. And this is a pleasure that the council has been doing for the last, 11 months now almost? And this is a special treat because I drink your coffee. It keeps me going. And I think you're deserving of the business of the month. But more importantly, we want to make sure you present this to you in person. You can hang this in your lovely coffee barista shop. And I'll just read it to you right quick. Presented to Loveland Coffee in recognition of being the small business of the month for the month of April 2021. Congratulations, Mr. Loveland. Got it? Thank you so much. You want to say something?
I just wanted to say I really appreciate this. I love serving Irmo for 8 years in the neighborhood shopping center, and we have expanded in just right across the street on Carlisle Street. And it's a celebration of all things we love about Irmo. And it's, in our eyes, we wanted to give something back to the community, so we put our heart, sweat, tears in that place, and it's to serve this community, and it's for all to enjoy. And we welcome everyone to come check it out and build a stronger community together. That is our goal from day one. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. All right. Is there anybody here from Child Abuse Prevention? Come on up front. Thank you, ladies. I had both of my shots, so I'm taking this mask down so I can breathe.
We have to, so that's fine.
Well, this is a proclamation declaring April Child Abuse Month in
Child abuse prevention.
Prevention Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month in the town of April. Thank you, in the town of Irmo. I'd like to read it to you. Whereas South Carolina's future prosperity and quality of life depends on the healthy development of more than 1.1 million children residing in diverse communities across our state. And whereas preventing child abuse and neglect must be a priority that requires individuals, families, child-serving organizations, schools, faith-based groups, businesses, government agencies, civic leaders, and to support the physical, emotional, social, and educational well-being of all children. And whereas child abuse is a serious public health issue with wide-ranging societal consequences, as data shows the link between abuse and neglect of children and a wide range of costly medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral issues into adulthood. And whereas preventing the parents and caregivers who have supported the system of family and friends know where to find public resources and understand how to remain resilient in that challenging times are best equipped to provide safe, nurturing environments for the children. And whereas the state and the community prevention program serves as a proven and effective ways to reduce child abuse and neglect, no matter the geographic region, race, ethnicity, or economic status. Now, I, Mayor Barry A. Walker Sr., along with the Town Council of Irmo, do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and encourage all South Carolinians to dedicate themselves to protecting the quality of life of every child. Here you are, ladies. Would you like to say something?
Well, we're actually from the St. Andrews Women's Club, and you may
Okay.
have noticed some, but we're working with the council.
Good.
And so you may have noticed some blue pinwheels around the city. Yeah.
I did. I was wondering what that was.
That's
Okay.
to remind people that we need everyone working on this.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, and I appreciate it. Thank you, council. All right. Okay, thank you. Under new business, consideration communication.
May I-
I'm
excuse me.
sorry,
That's okay.
Huh?
Consideration for communication?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm just going to pass them out to you guys. Very, very briefly, would love to have us consider trying to figure out what we can do to help this group, the South Carolina Career Kids. They have been meeting in the Irmo Chamber. They've partnered with the Irmo Chamber. They 4K children, and they are now taking it to another level and going to be meeting at the old Coldstream Clubhouse, and they're going to have 60 children, 184 of which are on the waiting list right now and had been on the waiting list last year for 4K here in Lexington, District 5. It's a great program. Just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. I met with them on Thursday evening at Loveland Coffee, actually, and we had a good 2-hour meeting. But the good thing is they're already talking partnership with Dr. Akil Ross and his group. They're reaching out. Dr. Ross is going to identify needs within that group. They're partnering with First Steps. So there's going to be other governmental money that's going to go with this, and it's pretty exciting. So just put it on your radar, and we'll talk about it as we move forward. Might be something that the Growth Corporation wants to do something with.
This is a program for the
4K.
kids?
Strictly 4K. Yep.
Okay,
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
got it. Anybody else? Seat, I have one more item. Anybody else?
No, but he's right. This is an excellent program.
Good. Anybody else? Okay, last thing I got is announcement of a grant program. As you know, the town of Irmo has slated to receive $4.66 million in American Rescue Funds. This is money coming directly from the federal government that we have been tasked to distribute to our town for COVID, not for COVID stimulus, but for COVID relief, and directly to all of our businesses that have been affected by it. As you know, last year this time, we pretty much shut down the town of Irmo. All of the hair salon, nail salons, anything that touched people were told that they had to shut down their business until we can figure out how we could operate under COVID. So this money we're slated to receive is approximately $2.3 million by June. I would like us to put a grant program in place with similar qualifications that you had for the Irmo Economic Development funds for a loan program. But this is a direct grant program. I'd like for us to put that in place and have it ready to roll out by the next council meeting as far as how we're gonna do it. The criteria, you know, who's gonna qualify for it. We can discuss it more in depth at the workshop, but by the next council meeting, I would like to have that program ready to be rolled out and in detail who can qualify for it. This is direct aid to our businesses that, again, have suffered under COVID, and we're trying to make them come back whole. Okay. Presentation by citizens. This is a point where citizens, you can come and address us on agenda items. I have a list of people who signed up to address us on those things. I'd like to call up front Mr. Julius Waits. If you want to step into the mic, Mr. Waits, realize that you're being video recorded and broadcast all over the country through YouTube. I don't want to make you nervous about it, but I'm sure you are familiar with the process of being a former council member. Also, just let us know what you are addressing, and we're here to listen to you.
Okay, I want to say something about item 9 under unfinished business. I'd like to save the town $29,957. Blue Granite has the City of Columbia processing their wastewater and sewage. The City of Columbia also provides the water for Blue Granite that they provide to their customers, most of whom live outside the city of Irmo. Why are we buying it? Why are we even thinking about it? If it's such a plum, the City of Columbia, who's always looking for a peach of a deal to make money from, they're already providing them the water. They're already processing the sewer. They have the equipment to work on the faulty equipment, the faulty pipelines, and they have the billing system. Why is Irmo going to start from scratch and take over a business that the president came in this very chamber here one night before the Public Service Commission people and said it was going to take $25 million to straighten out all the problems they had? And he said, and also possibly another $20 million to bring it up to standards. That's $45 million. Yet an article in the Irmo News that Mr. Dozier wrote said that the president of Blue Granite said, Blue Granite's not for sale, but we'll sell it for $25 million. I guess they will. Second thing I want to bring up is the item E under new business. Is that land that used to be the tennis court not the property of Richland County? Why is the town of Irmo working on a grant to fix a park that the town does not own? I live in Richland County. I pay taxes to Richland County to keep their parks in good service. Why do we want to put another park in service and we pay for it, and the residents of Irmo who live in Richland County are paying for it? And then going back to Blue Granite, if it fails, all the taxpayers in the town of Irmo will be footing the bill, not just the, 1,500 or 1,600 that live in the town of Irmo that are getting benefits from Blue Granite, the people outside of the town of Irmo that are getting the benefits of our taxes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Waits. Mr. Hutto or Skylar Hutto?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, come on up. Mr. Hutto, you're here to address us on items on our agenda.
For the council's benefit, I'm here with respect to item F under the new business category. I'm here representing Irmo Tobacco and Vapor. Do you mind if I take this off?
Yeah.
All right. Here representing Irmo Tobacco and Vapor. They recently were closed down, for lack of a better word, and told verbally that there may be a need for them to appear here at this meeting tonight to defend their business license. Now, as their counsel and on their behalf, I'm a little bit lost as to what proceeding is occurring against them and what they're accused of. I have gone through the town ordinances that govern this topic. To my knowledge, my client was not provided with service or certified mail or any notice of this meeting. They learned about it through a kind of offhanded comment that was made to them and then confirmed that the meeting existed via the town's website. And we're somewhat left to speculate about what the issue at hand is. We have an idea, but I have no formal notice, frankly, of what's going on. So I don't know exactly how to address the council on this matter. Be happy to do my best.
Okay. We will talk about that when we get down to item F. At that time, we'll explain to you exactly what we're doing here today.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it. Mr. Andy Delaney. Come on. Oh, okay. Okay, so y'all are okay with that? Yes, sir. We'll wait till, okay.
That was fine, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barb Wallman.
Good evening, Mayor Walker and council members. I wanted to just give you a few comments about the
Ms.
item
Wallman,
A.
I'm sorry, could you?
Sorry,
I can't hear. And
is that better?
Much better.
Okay. I just had some comments about item A under new business. The ordinance 21-03 to annex Richland County properties along Shady Grove Road as general residential. My concern there is that there's 68 acres here, and as general residential, that would allow 16 units per acre, which is over 1,000 new households that would come into the town of Irmo. My concern is about the additional burden that will put on our police and fire and everything else, just to have that much of an increase in population. I don't know, and I don't, maybe you are considering something like an impact fee that would help to offset that additional cost to our town services. And that was just my comment about that particular item. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anybody else that would like to address council? Anybody else who signed up would like to make a comment? This is your chance to speak on the agenda items we got coming forward. Anybody else? Seeing none? Okay, we're going to continue on then. Unfinished business, item A, approval of contract with Hybrid Engineering. Is there a motion for approval? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
You seconded it, right? I saw you move, I heard it. Thank you. All right. Again, this is our contract. We all received from Blue Granite at our council workshop. We asked them to come up with a plan for volumetric billing, and I believe Councilman Bush, you were asked to specifically, we want to have that in our hands, and we got a paper back. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read it yet, but I have a copy here in front of us. This paper basically says why Blue Granite can't go to volumetric billing. And quite frankly, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that this item directly is related to what we asked them to do. As you know, Blue Granite is a mega company that's providing sewer service in Irmo. In other parts of the state, they provide sewer and water. And they were telling us how difficult it would be for them to do volumetric billing across the entire system. Whereas in Irmo, it might be a challenge because they'd have to talk to the city of Columbia and get a feed from the city of Columbia of how much volume each household is using. But certainly in Greenville or Spartanburg, where they provide both water and sewer, they have the information at hand. And for their argument to us is that their costs, our costs in Irmo is being subsidized by other areas of the state. Quite frankly, this is why we asked them to show us in writing how the impact of volumetric billing would be to our citizens. Well, I got the impact, I got the paperwork, and I don't understand it. I don't agree with it, but maybe maybe members of the council can enlighten me on it. Mr. Bush?
Yeah, so the volumetric billing, according to Mr. Denton, what it would involve is breaking off our system from the rest of their systems and consolidating the cost to maintain only our system within our billing structure and not spreading it out across the system. By spreading it across the system, we get better results for the money. In other words, the cost to upgrade our system is spread out amongst the entire state or system. In volumetric billing, they would have to break us off, and then all of the independent costs in our system would be borne by our customers, or not, I mean Blue Granite's customers in Irmo. And in doing so, to break up that cost, the billing actually increases considerably if you go volumetric. And I mean, that's, unfortunately, I think in the past it was volumetric, and then it was changed, and with the ability to be able to spread the cost to upgrade the system. That's kind of the long and short of it.
So you saw this, right?
I did see that, yeah. It's a considerable increase if we did volumetric because they would have to break us off from the rest of the system.
I'll come back to that. Mr. Danielson?
Again, I believe this is where we're going to be biting off more than we can chew. And frankly, I'm not questioning Mr. Denton. I'm not. But what we were provided really doesn't tell us a whole lot. I mean, it gives us a rate, but and what it's broken down to. But I mean, anybody could have put that together. There's no substantial analytical behind it that we can see. And I'm not questioning that. I'm not questioning that the numbers aren't legit. It would be frightening to think that we would jump up to $135 a month right out of the box because of the lack of subsidized fees from the rest of the system throughout the state of South Carolina. So I don't know that you're ever taking it on face value. I don't know that you're ever going to get to the real number. That's just my gut feeling.
I provide you one piece of information about volume.
If you insist. I'm smiling, folks.
When we were before the PSC basically had ordered them.
Can you talk into the mic, sir? I'm sorry. I apologize.
When we tried them out before the PSC, I understood requiring them to consider going to a volumetric billing. They probably are right to cut us out and go to it.
escalate the cost. If they were required by PSC to go to it system-wide, I think you could wind up with some savings. But I think that Mr. Danielson is correct in regard to biting off more than you can chew with the volumetric. I don't see any way that practically they're going to be able to do that for us unless they go system-wide. And that's a call for PSC. I don't think it's a call for Irmo. I think we've done all we can do with that. But that's just my recommendation to you.
Okay, Mr. Sickinger?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, are we discussing simply the volumetric billing email that we received, or are we discussing the motion?
We're discussing the motion,
Okay.
but this is how we're getting to that.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think I have anything additional to add to that particular item.
Well, that's, okay, what I'm saying is we asked for information
Yeah.
at the workshop. He gave it to us. Depending on the results of the information he gave us, would determine whether I wanted to go forward to look at this contract with Hybrid, and that's why we're talking about the.
Yeah, I get that. So the problem I have, and I think the situation that we're in as a council and as a community, is that Blue Granite, for their historical faults, are doing a much better job today than they were 5 years ago. It's a completely, their work that they're doing, the effort that they're making, they seem to be actually making a real effort now. And I don't know whether that's because of the work that the council has done, because PSC basically said you can get the bare minimum here, or what. The problem is that their starting point for their rates was already so high in that $68, $70 range. So now residents are paying upwards of $80, and those rates are only going to go up. So I mean, my concern is twofold. One, if we take on, first of all, we're not voting whether or not to buy Blue Granite. We're voting to do a study to find out what that's
Right.
what that would look like, just to clarify for residents. Taking that next step. But my concern is that if we don't move forward with this, then sewer rates for Irmo residents that are impacted by Blue Granite is going to be $120 in 2 or 3 years. Although, according to the information we received, maybe that's how much they would have been paying. I don't know. And the problem is, it seems like either way, residents are going to be stuck with a very large bill. And I just can't understand. I know sewer rates are going up across the country, but I just have a hard time receiving a bill, imagining a middle income or below resident receiving a bill for sewer for $120 every month. That just seems ridiculous to me. And I think the last point, and I apologize for ranting here, is that the federal government and the state government has a massive amount of funds for programs exactly like this, for municipalities that are trying to rehab their sewer systems. And if we don't have the sewer system, then we can't use those funds. But there are a ton of funds, and I'm assuming that there'll be even more if an infrastructure bill passes that would go towards projects exactly like this. So that's kind of the picture as I see it.
Okay. Ms. Condon?
I'm good with what they said.
Okay. And I'll back to you, 1 second, before I get back to you, Mr. Bush. Thank you, Councilman Sickinger, and thank you, Councilman Danielson. Again, we're not voting on buying Blue Granite tonight. We're voting on finding out the information that we need to make an educated decision whether the town should go forward and pursue that. And that's what the study is going to do for us. Like you said, Councilman Sickinger, what we're trying to do is to appeal to what our residents have said to us. To get a fixed price bill for $185 going up to $100 for grandma who's got a $20 water bill is just evil. And the only way to address that is to coax them or to convince them that they need to adjust their bills accordingly. Did you know that I had a lady in Friarsgate who had a stroke, and she was spent 3 months in rehab. And during those 3 months in rehab, she got an $85 a month water bill, sewer bill from Blue Granite. When she came back, she had all kinds of notices. They were threatening to cut her off and all that good stuff. She paid the bill. And her brother-in-law, who came from Georgia to stay with her to help her, said, "Why is your sewer bill so high? And we haven't even been here." She hasn't flushed that toilet one time, but she's got to pay 3 months worth of sewer bill. And Blue Granite is not budging. They want their money. And this lady is sick. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we're trying to fight for. We're trying to get them to understand. And the PSC, Jake, tell me if I'm wrong, the PSC asked them to look at and to investigate what it would cost to do volumetric billing.
And they still are. That request is still out there, and they were supposed to be providing that information to PSC.
Well,
PSC is, as you can see, frustrated with them, and still is frustrated with them. PSC understands, and to their credit, the Public Service Commission is doing everything under God's earth to help the residents of Irmo and the customers of Blue Granite.
well,
Part of the problem you have here is the customers are being ripped by two ends. First of all, the city of Columbia, since it is not regulated by anybody, can charge anything they want to for the actual treatment of the effluent. And then you wind up with the second of all, the Blue Granite system is horrible, and it gets all this water infiltration by virtue of the fact that it's got holes all in the system, and rainwater is being charged the same thing as effluent. And Blue Granite is having to pay for the processing of rainwater as sewage water. And we've got a system that's completely worn out due to the fact that they've neglected the system and taken the money for maintenance for years. And now we've got a worn out system that's having to be rehabbed at great cost. And that money should have been paid by Blue Granite over the years, but it wasn't. And you have to deal with what it is instead of what it should be. So you've got the city of Columbia whacking them on one end, by, I think, overcharging the process of effluent. That's Jake's belief. And you have Blue Granite on the other end whacking them, by trying to make up for deferred maintenance that should have been spent by Blue Granite in the second place. The money's got to get there to rehab the system somewhere, and the only place it can come from is the ratepayers, and we've got a mess. Then you've got the other situation there where everybody in God's earth is telling us, do not, under any circumstance, take over sewer, because municipalities historically lose a fortune on sewer and make money on water. And I've heard that all my life, but I've never run a sewer system, so I don't know. I've condemned a few of them in my time, or been involved in the condemnation of a couple of them. And, it is a laborious and expensive proposition to do. Is it worth $29,700 to be told that you shouldn't do it? I don't know. One thing's for certain, you can make a better informed decision if you spend the $29,000 rather than take my word for it, because I don't know for sure. Either way, it's a rational way to proceed. My friend, Councilman Bush, has said many times, we can't just sit here and do nothing. We've got to do what we can, where we can, to try and do something. And I couldn't agree with that more. held them down. But they'll be back at it again. I can guarantee you next year, I'm gonna be back there fighting PSC again with the same song and dance. Those are policy decisions and stewardship decisions that you folks have to set as a council. It is not up for me to say. I spent a week of my life in front of the Public Service Commission. And I have been round and round, so has Whit Klein, bless his heart. Whit knows as much about Blue Granite as Blue Granite knows. We've got attention though. We're at least not having exploding manhole covers anymore, which I'm very proud to say that's a progress. And that's thanks to Whit and Bob. You know, how you proceed with this is a policy decision, and all of you have the best interests of the citizens of the town at heart. And I think that me and the rest of the staff will support you in whatever you do.
All right, Mr. Bush, would you like to say something else? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we brought this up several months ago, put it out for our piece. I think I'm in a reverse direction in light of the fact that, you know, Mr. Denton has been accountable to us. He's come to meetings, we've asked him to come, and visibly they're doing work out here. This is more than I've seen in, I don't know, 20 years. So the benefit of the doubt is that they're using this money that they got from the PSC to actually do something this time around. And so, in my opinion, I think in lieu of spending $30,000 minus 43 right now, is that we just observe a little while longer and see if they keep up the pace as they promised. And go from there, reevaluate in 6 months or a year and see what they've accomplished. They brought in progress reports. They showed what they were doing. I mean, that's a big step for what we've been used to. So.
Okay, so when a citizen comes to us and say, how about this volumetric building issue we have? You know, I can show them this piece of paper and say, this is what they said your bill would go to if they did it?
I mean, that's the best information we have from the company. I realize we could argue with it, we could debate it, we could get our own study done, but
right.
I think when you break down the fact that there's two different ways they could do it. They could do volumetric across the entire state, which then that would spread that cost back out.
Right.
But in this case, we asked them to give us if it was just Irmo, which they would have to break out our piece.
Right.
And the amount of capital that they would expend right here would have to be distributed within our rate base, that's the numbers that they came out. And I mean, they're ridiculous, but they're realistic. I mean.
Well, okay, I don't want to beat it all night. Anybody else have any comments on it?
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Mayor. Just for residents who are watching, and for the record, this doesn't mean that we're walking away from the fight with Blue Granite. I encourage residents every day that have a problem to contact ORS, whose job it is to make sure that problems get sorted out, and PSC, and regardless of how this vote goes, council is not stopping their fight to make sure that our residents are treated fairly.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, at this point, I'd like to make a motion to table this approval until, I don't know, just table it until 6 months or so? Is that gives enough time to revote?
I think this expires.
Expires? Okay, well, then let's vote it down.
If we decide to revisit it in 3 months or 5 months, we can.
Okay. All right. Will the clerk read the roll then?
Mr. Bush?
Nay.
Ms. Condom?
Nay.
Mr. Danielson?
Nay.
Mr. Sickinger?
No?
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Thank you. Second and final reading of ordinance 2102, and that's rezoning of property on Coon Road. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Mr. Sickinger?
I'm in favor.
This is the property that are gonna do the grocery store? Okay. Mr. Bush?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. It's clearly commercial property. It's going to bring traffic woes. We discussed that at the last meeting, but we'll have to deal with DOT. We'll have to deal with that and other issues. Nobody's going to put a house there. We got to be realistic. So, I'm in favor.
And I'd like to add to that I have talked to Richland County, DOT, and Richland County about widening Broad River Road past that point. That project is on track to be done. They didn't give me exact dates when they're gonna start breaking ground, but it's not tabled anymore. It's not in a back burner. They are moving forward. Now, if council wants to get them to commit to dates, and if you think this will help this gentleman out, we can pursue that, and I can get them here in one of our workshops to give us exactly actual plans, if anybody is interested in that. Mr. Bush?
I'm definitely interested in whether or not Richland County is going to widen this road, because my no vote last time was, it's not to be punitive towards anybody, but if we continue to develop these areas without having some infrastructure improvements. I don't know if you've ever been up at Broad River Road at 4:30 in the afternoon, but
Oh, yeah.
it's not good. And adding more and more load to the traffic areas is I don't know. It was kind of a, not sure what you call that kind of a vote, but it was that we need to. But if Richland County is willing to come in, then that's something.
Yeah. I'm with you, Ms. Thompson. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, clerk, will you roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Ms. Condom? Yay. Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yay.
Mayor Walker?
Yay. Thank you. New business, item A, first reading ordinance 2103. That is to annex and rezone a property as general residential. Is there a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Sickinger.
Yeah, this is a big plot here, isn't it? 68 acres. I'm generally in favor of annexation because if we don't, someone else will, partially. Number two, because I understand the need for growth, and certainly it's not in a part of town where it would. It's not like they're clear cutting, right here, right downtown of Irmo. I echo the concern of one of the residents that was brought, which is it's a lot of homes and that's a lot of impact on. I mean, I haven't looked at it, but I mean is that as big as New Friars Gate? I mean that's massive, right? So geographically, I think that would be a big growth. But my concern is infrastructure, and thank goodness they are not going to be, I assume they would not be on the before mentioned sewer system, which couldn't handle it anyway. But
That's 68.
I'm generally in favor.
Okay. Ms. Condon?
Did y'all get a call from a representative of okay. I was impressed with the call because Philip,
I didn't get a call.
you didn't, well, he
No.
called, I think he was trying to call you,
Okay.
but he told me that he would, if he didn't know the answer, he's here? Okay, that he'd find the answer, and I appreciate that. And you're right, if we don't grow, it's to our detriment, even if it's gonna cost money. I think it's important. People need houses right now. And I told him on the phone, I hope this continues for a while. It would certainly get us out of the pandemic when real estate picks up and it has, but to keep it going for a year or two, this is good.
Mr. Bush?
Yeah, so I'm on the fence with this as well with the infrastructure because it's right up the street from the one we just rezoned. And that's going to add more traffic to Broad River Road. And what I've been trying to find out from DOT is if they're planning on adding an interchange between our interchange and the Peak exit, for example, so that it would offload some of the traffic from Broad River Road, and I can't get a straight answer from anybody. That would considerably improve the traffic around there. I believe they're on Richland County Sewer there, so that's probably not an issue. I think Richland County's got the capacity. But from an infrastructure perspective, same thing. And then, as far as a tax base to fund the police department, because the more we add, ultimately they're either going to be understaffed or we're going to have to improve their budget. And, unfortunately, some of the residential developments don't give us quite the revenue stream that a business does, for example.
That's true.
And so, that's going to make the budget tighter and tighter as we keep adding residential neighborhoods, which doesn't benefit infrastructure. So it's just a thought.
Mr. Danielson?
Yeah, I think the gentleman that called is here. Do we want to talk to him?
Yeah, after you have a...
My issue is I'm always, as I mentioned in the phone conversation, that I'm generally in favor of residential development, and I'm generally in favor of annexation. This may be the time in discussions with Great Southern Homes that we look at an impact fee scenario. We've talked about this generally before, but it may be the time we start discussing that so that we can offset these costs for police and all these other services that we have to provide out there. My understanding is it's going to be about 170 homes.
165.
165 homes.
Plus or minus a few, so a little less than.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, so
All
that,
right.
that was my understanding. He's confirmed my understanding would be about 165 homes.
Okay. All right. And I am generally in favor of annexation. I'm in favor of growth. I am not in favor of carte blanche putting, I believe the number was 1,000 homes, Ms. Wallman, 1,000 apartments in this tract of land, which is what you could do under general residential. You can do, I believe it's 7 units per acre. And if you do the math, you have opened up a Pandora's box to put a huge apartment complex back there. Now, I know Great Southern Homes are a great business partner in the town of Irmo, and they're gonna tell us in a few minutes what they plan to do. But if they decide to change their mind after we grant this annexation, it's already zoned RG, which means they can do it. And now we're stuck with a set of 165 single-family patio homes or whatever. We're stuck with 1,000 apartments, 1,000 apartment complex. So with that said, can you explain to us what you're planning on doing?
Hey, I am Kimberly. I work with Civil Engineering of Columbia, and actually, we are doing the design work for Great Southern Homes. Per the zoning ordinance, we are actually doing single-family residential. The minimum lot size for the single-family residential is 6,000 square feet. We're staying at minimum, the smallest lot is 7,000 square feet, but we're staying probably about 7,500 average.
Okay, so could you accomplish that with single-family residential?
Accomplish.
And I'm asking Bob, what's the density for 4? So you could accomplish that 4 per acre with single-family residential.
Yes.
Okay, so then I think that's what, and I can't tell you what to make your zoning request for, but I think that if we had that as single-family residential instead of general residential, you get buy-in from the entire council that you will stick to your plan.
I'm sorry, no, and I misunderstood. The zoning of single-family residential RS, the minimum lot square footage is 12,000 square feet. We're going to need about 7,000 square feet lot size.
So can they go to ZBA with that?
Sounds like, well, I mean, the planning commission recommended approval, but it sounds like you want to put like 5 houses per acre, 5.5 houses or something like that.
Yeah, around about there.
As opposed to, they can't make 4, but they definitely don't make 16, but.
But if we gave them single-family residential, they can go to ZBA and ask for that variance for one more house?
I don't believe so, there's not a hardship.
It's not a hardship?
Okay.
What percentage of that 68 acres is infrastructure? What's your calculated percentage?
So we have 67.9 acres. We have, in our current layout, we do actually, I do want to point out that we are going to have more wetlands on here than what is shown because we have actually done a wetland survey. The wetland survey actually does declare that there's more wetlands on here, so the house count is going to go down. Right now, we are at about, I can't even read that. For 50% open space,
I'm sorry?
around
49.94% open space.
50% open
Open
space.
space. So we're about 2.5 homes per acre when you account for the ponds, the roads, the open space, all of that. We're about 2.5 homes per acre, 165 homes, 60 foot wide, 125 foot deep, and obviously we're gonna lose some with the wetlands, so under 165.
That's what I thought.
We will we'll have to do a DOT traffic study, all of that. They'll tell us what they need, if they want turning lanes, widening, traffic light. We'll do the study, whatever they say we need to do, that's what we'll do, for traffic concerns. And then we're not blue granite, right?
No, we're actually East Richland.
East Richland.
Yep.
Okay, is there any more questions for them?
So you said 2.5 homes per acre?
Yeah.
That's what it would average out to, with the usable acreage that we can.
Yeah, it's 37 acres, yeah.
Point of questioning for Bob Brown, so we don't have a zoning that would come close to that 2.5, like 4 houses?
There's 2 zones.
That's it?
Yep.
Commercial 4, single family 4, neighborhood commercial is not allowed, and then residential, general residential 16. So the options are 4 or 16.
But if they're only doing 2.5 houses per acre, we can, and you said the 4 is how many, per what?
Single family is 4 per acre.
So, unless I'm confused, you could do residential.
132, right, 132
And
houses.
still meet your 2.5 houses per acre, correct?
No, there's too much unusable land as far as wetlands to be able to reach that.
So when you calculate your per acre, you're calculating the entire plot, not the 50%.
Okay,
Okay,
I got it,
little math game.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but again, and I understand that, apparently they don't have a hardship, so you couldn't go to ZBA with a variance request. And I'm not comfortable saying we could handle that impact to the community of, 7 houses per acre. I mean, and that's what they'll have the ability to do if the project would not pan out. Once we grant that zoning request, it's granted. But I want to see if we can work it out. I mean, Are you sure that your usable area is only gonna be 50% of the 6 or 7 acres?
Well, I do want to point out that we do have to go through a separate sketch plan submittal. And they do have to review that, go to planning commission and all that.
I'm sorry, Ken.
They do have to do a sketch plan submittal. So this is only for annexation and approving the zoning that's going to be annexed.
Right, and that's
We'll
what
go
we're
through a
trying to get
separate-
you to.
Yeah, have to go through a separate approval process for the actual layout that we're going to be using. So at that point, that's when I think the town probably has it in its own staff power to be able to tell us, we're not going to let you do, but so
Can we approve it as single-family residential and then let them come back and ask us for a zoning change after they show us the plans and stuff?
They can always do that. What you could do tonight is give it first reading approval, okay? And there are such a thing as development agreements that prior to the second reading approval, you could enter into a development agreement with these folks that would in effect have them commit to use the property in accord with a set of plans, which we have a preliminary set, which you approve. So what you might want to do is to give first reading approval tonight and allow these folks to talk further with the staff and potentially come up with a development agreement that made sense. You're going to be jamming some small lots in there because of the unusable space. 80 feet wide is not that wide. 125 feet deep is pretty standard. It's not a bad lot. So you're going to have small, skinny lots. On the other hand, we know that Great Southern is one of the classiest builders you have in the state of South Carolina with a tremendous reputation. We know that Great Southern is actually located within the corporate limits of Irmo. We know the people that we're dealing with. If you entered into a development agreement, you could conceivably even get some sorts of concessions in regard to the types of building material. If you're gonna do 80 by 125 foot, I don't think you want plastic houses with a bunch of vinyl siding, which they don't build them that way anyway. But you could actually place that into a development agreement with them and have a very clear understanding of what was going in there when the property wound up being zoned.
But if they decide to abandon the project because it doesn't pan out,
If they decide to do that, then all you have to do is come back and zone the property single-family residential with your own motion. And then you're dealing back at square one, the property's in town and you're not hurt.
okay? So everybody understand that?
Yeah, got it.
But not really. I mean, so we have the ability to take some property owner and rezone their property with their,
Yes, sir.
without their,
Yeah.
Sui sponte, on your own motion, you can do it anytime you want to.
Okay, Mr. Bush, we're gonna rezone your property. From
I guess we can do that.
The
agriculture.
wheels are turning, aren't they, Mr. Bush?
And that's why we're willing to work this out with you guys, because you are an Irmo business. We appreciate y'all being in town, and you've done some quality work. You've done some quality subdivisions across the board. I'm just personally concerned, and maybe you're not,
No, I am.
or other people, I'm personally concerned that if we do rezone it to the highest density, which you're asking for, is that, you know, we're opening ourselves up to a massive apartment complex, which is fine. We need that, but we can't handle it in the town of Irmo.
Just the big thing on the development agreement, I mean, we will definitely entertain and work with you guys anyway, but the one thing that I would be concerned about, not even from Great Southern, but just as someone who lives in a community, back in 07, 08, when everything crashed, a lot of these communities had a development agreement or HOA, CCRs that restricted what the homes were, couldn't change the plat, all of that. Well, when the economy went down, no one could afford to pick it up and try to salvage the subdivision because it had all these restrictions on big lots, big homes, all brick, yada,
Right.
yada, yada. And then, so they just sat there and, you know, the weeds grew high and it made communities look bad. So we would entertain that for sure, but maybe we could put something in there that if, you know, something happened in the economy dropped, that y'all could release that. So I don't know. We just need to talk through that, because I just would hate for, you just never know what happens this day and time. Something could happen, the whole world could go collapse, and a subdivision could have 4 houses built and then have to sit there. So
Well, that's exactly what our concern is. You know, you start building these things and you figure out you can't finish it. So you sell it to another building and says, wait a minute, I could put 7 houses per acre on this thing.
We put 16.
16, right. And they start doing 16 houses.
well, it's that. Well, I mean,
You know.
it's that, or it has to sit there for 6 years until the economy gets back to a standard where someone can pick it up and buy it and build something to be profitable on.
I love you guys to death, but you made me hurt yourself.
I know, but I'm just being fair, though. I'd be hurting myself 7 years from now if it.
Can we
if
do
I
that?
Came back.
You ready to do that?
I just want to keep
Okay.
the track, you know, trying to be fair. That's how we work, and
I'm sorry. Y'all can table this for some other time. Mr. Mayor, I move the previous question. I need a second.
All right, second. All in favor of the question, say aye.
Aye.
All,
Could we repeat it?
It's call for a vote.
Okay.
are you calling?
Okay.
Yeah. All in favor of calling for the question, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous? Okay. So, okay, so I'm gonna call for the vote on rezoning this property to general residential. That's whatever the density is, 17, 16 per acre. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Bush,
Nay.
Ms. Condom,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Mayor Walker,
No. Okay. All right, and does that mean that we still want you to work out an agreement before the next reading? Is that right? Council?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm instructing Bob to get with them to work out what Jake said, the agreement, the construction agreement. We can look at the plans by that time, by our next meeting, which is in May. The next reading, which is in May. And then at that point, we'll give you final approval on this zoning that you're requesting or not. Thank you. Yes. All right.
Go ahead and take
Thank
care
you.
of that and get with Jake. I wanted to remind you, this is not a rezoning.
I'm sorry.
This is not a rezoning, just to be clear. This is an annexation. They're just requesting.
Well, annexation, right, I'm sorry. Not rezoning, it's the annexation of town. Okay, thank you. Sorry it's taking so long with that, but you understand what's going on. Item B, approval to obligate $745,000 of the American Rescue Plan. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second?
I did it. I seconded it. I'm sorry. I seconded it.
Okay.
But I'll let you second it.
No,
I'm
you go
leaving
ahead.
you. Okay. Okay, it's been properly moved in second. Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, I've taken a look at the list of the items requested, and some of them are easy yeses because they're clearly outlined in the act that was passed. As I see it, that is the one-time bonus, the grant to the Irmo Future Growth Foundation, the Wi-Fi in the town parks, and install fiber in the police department and town hall. The rest I don't see as, I feel comfortable obligating those funds without further guidance from Treasury.
Okay. What we're talking about, folks, is the American Rescue Plan, the $4.6 million that the Congress has slated that Irmo will receive in the next month or so. And this money has to be spent by 2024, and it has to be used for infrastructure, as far as water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. That's the initial things that we can spend it on. Doing some further research, we found out that we can spend it on COVID-related relief directly to our businesses and to our employees that have worked during the COVID pandemic last year, and basically give them some financial relief. It is, again, it's not a stimulus. This is direct relief as far as the town paying them for their risking their lives to get COVID and stuff. So on that note, we have a list of things, and we don't have it up on the screen. Does that mean we don't have a copy of it? Okay, that's fine. We have a list of items that we would like to use the initial amount of money that we're going to receive, which is about $2.3 million in the next couple of months. And I agree with Councilman Sickinger, the one-time bonus to the employees, the grant for 125 to fund Irmo Future Growth. That's something we directly can use that for. I also agree with the Wi-Fi in the town parks to give broadband infrastructure help in both of the town parks. Install fiber optics in the police department. That's certainly part of that stimulus money it can be used for. But I also think we can use it to do design on the design permits and geotech stuff on Mosley Street. I think we need to include that. That's something that we can directly use as far as the COVID money, I believe, as far as this batch. I might be wrong, but I've been looking for everything I've looked at, everything I've seen. I believe we can do that. Mr. Bush, Mr. Danielson?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I agree. If we're not, some of us aren't comfortable just yaying the whole list, predicated on making sure the last the last 4 or 5 may be questionable as far as approval. Certainly the first 5 or 6 are acceptable as I've read it,
right,
and everything I've heard. So I'm certain I could go either way, either just approving the ones on the top, or approving the whole thing with the mitigation that we make sure we're playing by the rules.
Okay. Mr. Bush?
Initially, I'm not a big fan of blowing $750,000 when we haven't even got the check yet. But since we're trying to get ahead of the ball, I do agree with the bonus and the grant, and I would assume we need to make a motion to single those out.
Rob's going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the bonus and the grant, which I believe may fall into their guidelines at that point, and then revisit this when we have a check or more information.
Okay. Do you want to do it as a group, or a line item approval, or because I want to tell them what we'd like to specifically spend it on the first check.
I'm in for the employee and the grant.
Okay, not the design of Mosley Street, the Wi-Fi in the parks or anything. That's all broadband infrastructure.
So that's covered, so yeah, we can include that.
Okay. Ms. Condon? I'm sorry, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Condon?
I agree.
Put your mic on, I'm sorry.
Okay. I agree with Mr. Danielson and Kelly. But I also would like this heavy-duty truck and these Tahoes, if they fall within the guidelines. As I understand it, the guidelines are not set in stone yet, that we're getting what we believe will be the guidelines, but it's not really final, right? I do know, because I've, not even from this material, but from the newspaper and media, there will be a separate department within the Treasury Department that will handle this. And I'm pretty sure they'll have a list of particulars that we'll have to go by, and I have faith we will. So whether we approve the whole thing or not, I think we'll do what they say. I've never known us not to. I don't know why we'd start now.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be doing anything until we get a set of list, from them. But the National League of Cities did confirm last week that maintaining records and document success is a one. So the digitizing the records and the software programs are legitimate.
Okay. I don't think we can do a line item till we get the final guidelines.
Well, we can start with this, and this is what we definitely agree with.
Okay.
The rest of the stuff will wait until after we get more clarification down the road. That's what
Okay.
I'm gonna propose. Sir,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but no spending until we get the money.
right, of course, yeah.
Or rules, yeah.
And, well, of course, and the rules.
Well, the employee bonuses, we can spend that, we're gonna
Yeah.
get that back.
Yeah.
Well, once we get the money, yeah.
Right.
And if I were a resident right now watching, they're probably wondering what this list is and what the amounts are. Are we gonna go through that?
Yeah, I was gonna do that line item. Is that all right? Okay, anybody else with comments? I'd like to make a motion then that we not approve the 745,000, but to approve these specific items, Bob. The town employee one-time bonuses for 49,340. That's 49,340. The one-time grant or the extended grant to the Irmo Future Growth Corporation of 125,000. The design permits in the geotech for Mosley Street of 56,355. Digitizing the permanent municipal records, and that's the infrastructure that we need to have in order to keep up with all of this stuff that they're gonna require us to report back to the Treasury Department. Include Wi-Fi for the town parks. Install fiber optics for the police department and town hall. Okay, and I'm sorry, those two items, the Wi-Fi in town parks, 32,100, and the install fiber in the police department town hall, $19,764. And if you've been keeping track, Mr. Sickinger, what is that total?
One more second here.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximately about 400,000.
400,000? Okay, so that's what we're gonna modify that motion to. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Danielson, I'm sorry, Mr. Bush seconded. And that's the motion I made, Mr. Bush seconded. Is there a discussion? Any discussion?
I think just the fact that we're not spending this money right now, we're just saying, look, we're gonna get we're gonna get a lump sum, first tranche, we wanna set aside a little bit to think that we're gonna do this as a plan.
But we're spending the money on the bonuses now.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Danielson?
I'm good with that.
Okay. And Ms. Condon?
I'm good with it.
Great. Will the clerk read the roll?
Mr.
Oh, wait a
Bush?
minute. Will the clerk read the roll on the amendment? I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Ms. Condom?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yay.
Mayor Walker?
Yay. Now, will the clerk, is there any discussion, more discussion on approval to obligate that to those projects? Any more discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll on approval of that?
Mr. Bush?
Oh, yeah, I thought we had one. We were in discussion.
Yay.
Sorry.
Ms. Condom?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Thank you very much, and I also want to add that this is not something we're willy-nilly going out and just spending money crazy, because we have it to spend, and we have to spend it by 2024. As you can see, the council has labored over this and discussed it and debated it and came up with basically a beginning to-do list. That list may change. We may add more items down the road that will be beneficial for long-term growth to the town, and I'm excited about the fact that we have this conversation, that we can have this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Item C, approval of a contract with Lexington Medical Center. In our packet, we have received a contract from the Lexington Medical Center. They would like to add in a 5-year agreement in the amount of $100,000, $20,000 a year, broken up between the Strut Festival as well as the signage on the wall of the 2 bathrooms in the community park, rather, not town park, the community park. As you see, if you go back to the first one, this is what they would like to change the Strut logo to. Right now, it just has the Irmo Strut. They want to change it to the Lexington Medical Center Strut. It's not a problem with anybody on the commission, and I hope the council doesn't have a problem with that change to the logo of the Strut for at least for the next 5 years and beyond, hopefully. And they would like to, next picture, they would like to add some signage in the wall of the community park bathrooms, with their new marketing phrase, "Be Well." And as you can see, that's what it would look like. That's on the wall of the bathroom. I think that it fits in with the motif of the park. I don't have a problem with it. They also committed to continue their sponsorship of the Strut for the next 5 years in the amount of $15,000. And then continue the sponsorship for these walls for that same period. In the contract, they are going to propose revising the Strut logo to incorporate Lexington Medical Center's name. And in the contract, we have to put the language in there, Bob, that says that all the new signs that they are requesting, Lexington Medical Center has an in-house printer. They are willing to print those signs if we give them the dimensions of the signs that we're using for the strut and the banner that will go over the stage and over the street. They're willing to pay for those modifications to those items to make sure it includes the Lexington Medical Center branding in that. All we have to do is give them the number of signs and the dimensions. And also the logo placement, the other item, the logo placement is the title sponsor on the primary banner above the stage during the festival. That's the Prisma Health stage. They want to make sure that that's placed there for the 2-day event, but placed there below the Prisma Health sign that currently exists. And they're okay with that, and we have to put that language also in the long-term contract. Does council have any, I make a motion to accept that proposal? Does council have it? Second? Second? Okay. Is there any more council? Mr. Bush, Mr. Danielson, Mr. Signature? All right. Will the clerk read the roll?
Mr. Bush.
Yay.
Ms. Condom.
Yay.
Mr. Danielson.
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger.
Yay.
Mayor Walker.
Yay. Thank you. All right. Approve.
Add something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They sent us the money last year for the festival.
Right.
They're the only ones that did, and they told us to keep it.
Yes, they did.
So I'm impressed with that.
Well, I'm very impressed with it, too. They're good partners, good family partners.
Mr. Mayor, I would kindly like to withdraw item D since we've already done it.
Oh, you don't want another 125,000?
I doubt you all will do that, but maybe later.
Okay. No problem. All right. Going on to item E, approval of the PARD grant submission in the amount of $194,000. That's for the building of the new park. We're calling it the Rawls Creek Park. As you know, well, let me start with this. So I have a motion for approval.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, you beat me to it. Mr. Sickinger and Mr. Danielson. Mr. Sickinger, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in favor. I'm always in favor of an 80-20 grant for where the money's going.
Could you take it?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
I'm always in favor of 80-20 grant when the 20%'s, when the whole 100%'s going to something good, and this is an exciting project. And I think partially for those who are concerned that, money is going into a Richland County asset, I think part of that is just a communication issue that this is a town park in the town of Irmo, and it's for the benefit of Irmo residents. So a lot like anything else, Irmo is a place without a town, in a manner of speaking, because all our assets belong to somebody else. But this is ours to use with approval as they allowed, and it's an exciting project, and we're looking forward to it.
Mr. Danielson.
You wore me down. I'm just, as I mentioned last meeting, we need, we're going to support this. We need to step up and put, work with the infrastructure and the master plan. And I see we've already got a drawing or a sketch or something. Yeah, the 80-20. Do we need a fourth park? I don't know, but I kind of like the idea of this park, and so I'm supportive. It's just sitting there. It's property going to waste, and for $38,000, I think we'll get a pretty good investment, and I think we can. Our town employees, our police department will do everything that has to be done that will be easier to handle now than as a park versus right now as vacant land where people can go snort paint cans or whatever they do. So, I'm in favor. I'm a little long-winded there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bush?
Just for some clarification, we have a 10-year lease on this for $0.00, with it auto-renewing for 5 years. 2 more sessions of 5 years, says 20 years total, as long as we're on good behavior. And number 2, this is starting to look like a third world country over there in that park, and I think anything that we can do to improve it is important for the town. So I'm in favor.
Third world country meaning?
I don't know what the news calls it, third world.
Okay.
Underdeveloped. It's underdeveloped. It's
Underutilized, okay. Ms. Condon?
Well, I think everyone knows this, but these are the tennis courts on Friarsgate Boulevard, right? So y'all, this is not a new park. This is existing, but it needs a lot of work. And this whole plan is not a normal park. I really like the community garden thing the most, but it would not really be a park. I don't know, community activity center, whatever. But I'm in favor of it.
And thank you. And I'd like to add, as we have said from day one, the town of Irmo is doing the infrastructure. We are responsible for using whatever funds we need to do to provide water, which I believe that's a direct something we can use from the rescue plan for water and sewer. We want to add a bathroom. That's going to be a sewer connection. That's certainly allowed in the infrastructure plan. So we can use monies from this American Rescue Plan to do the infrastructure, which is what I have said from day one, and I have said to both people that are doing the skate park, the people that are doing the community garden, and the folks that want to build a dog park that wants all the amenities. We're not responsible for building your amenity. We're responsible for providing you the infrastructure to build your amenities. And I think that relationship is solid, and I think that what we're planning on doing is something that's gonna, again, put Irmo on the map as a place to live, despite all of the things with blue granite that we've had in the past. I want to be a destination. Any more comments? Will the clerk read the roll?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Ms. Condom?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yay.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Thank you. All right. And we're almost there. Thank you so much. Council, we have to decide on the status of a business license that was suspended by Administrator Brown. We all received a letter or email in the mail saying that he has suspended the business license for the Irmo Tobacco and Vapor shop located at 1100 Dutch Square, Dutch Fork Road for illegal activities. The suspension authority is only good for 90 days, so we have to make a decision on council whether to extend it out permanently or to rescind that, right?
That's correct. I mean, I can only suspend for 30 days, but I can increase it 2 more times. So
Okay.
that's why council's making a decision now. This is not a legal proceeding. This is simply administrative. And based on our ordinance, there's no revocation that we're doing at this time, which is why there's no formal letters or anything sent out.
Okay. Are they closed right now, Mr. Brown? They are closed right now and have been closed since you suspended it on April 12th. Okay. Is there a motion to consider the suspension? Is there a second?
So moved. Did you make the motion?
I made a motion just a
Second.
second. All right. It counts,
We have to object on a procedural ground, I believe, at this
hold on a
point.
second, sir. We'll get to you in a minute. I promise.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Condom, you seconded, and I've explained to you what we're here to discuss. Do you have any comments about it?
I understand the foundation for the suspension,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're right.
Okay. Mr. Bush, I'm looking at you.
I also understand the suspension, but as well, I feel like that if, until they've gone through a formal hearing or trial and determine whether they're guilty or innocent of these charges, then we should continue to allow them to do business.
Okay. Mr. Danielson.
I'm not a fan of what we're doing here. You know, give them, my gut feeling says we need to give them a right to cure. They've had no right to cure. If I'm taking their attorney comments at heart and to believe him, which I certainly do, they hadn't even had appropriate notice. So, I'm a little uncomfortable with this.
Okay.
Just
And Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, I think the irony of today's date
I was just going to mention that.
is a little ridiculous. I do have a letter here that was signed by the town administrator. Mr. Brown, was that delivered to the proprietor?
It was mailed to him, and then Mr. I think Mohammed or someone had called up, and we confirmed that
Okay.
it was today.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I echo a lot of the council's concerns around how this is working. I don't have a problem with if someone is violating the law and they're guilty of violating the law, it's found in court. No one should be selling an illegal substance. But it seems a little arbitrary or capricious, if you will.
Capricious and arbitrary. That's it. Okay. And I too am concerned about the whole decision to pull their license. It's kind of ironic. Today is 4/20, as you know. This is Cannabis Day, a celebration in the country, and
It's still illegal here.
well,
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. This is your turn to speak.
yes. Well, that's okay. It is illegal here, but you can go to Virginia here in January of 2021,
You can do that.
and you can smoke all the weed you want,
Continue to do
and
this.
get off the
Buying
plane,
it.
and get off the plane. I know, but get off the plane in CAE and go straight to jail because you got weed on you.
I've never had it on me.
Well, I know people that are suffering medically
Well,
who will go to Virginia to do
medicinal.
that, and I understand that. And I'm not going to get into a debate about it because I too have medical issues, and if I felt like I needed to have marijuana to make my illness subside,
if you have a
I might have to move to Virginia or move to California or move to this place where I can smoke all the cannabis I want. The question is, today in South Carolina, was the stuff that they were selling, was that illegal?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. According to the law, and I believe it's 3%, it's 3% of it has to be THC. Less than 3%, if it doesn't have THC in it, it's not illegal in South Carolina. If it's over 3%, then it is illegal marijuana or cannabis in South Carolina. Now, I understand that we took samples of this, what they had there. They sent it off to SLED, and it came back as, yeah, this is weed. This is cannabis. Well, isn't CBD, isn't that cannabis? Isn't that cannabis driven? So when they send that off, don't they come back with as cannabis? I don't know. I'm asking a question. I'm not a chemist.
It's THC, and it's THC, and certainly I'm not here to,
Right.
provide testimony for one side or the other on this, and I'm not the.
Well, I'm not here either,
Right,
but I'm just saying the process of what that they were accused of
Right.
has not been followed. They haven't had their day in court.
Well,
And
I don't know for sure whether or not that's taken place, but
right.
what you're referring to is a 3% marker.
Correct.
Right. And just, it's really, at the end of the day, it's a roundabout way to sell something that has less than 3%.
Correct.
And has a different genetic makeup.
And again, I'm not a chemist, so
neither am I.
Refer to my daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the decision we have to make tonight is to continue this or let them open up again. Does the attorneys, you want to hear from the attorneys? Yeah. If you guys want to mess this up, come on up here and talk and tell us why we should not do this.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Yeah.
My name is Andy Delaney. I represent Irmo Tobacco and Vapor, and this is Skylar Hutto. I think you guys have touched on the issues that we're concerned about.
You get closer to the mic.
Sure.
Please.
That the notice in and of itself was defective. It did not provide us any information as to what these folks were charged with. We've never been provided any results of any testing that was done by any laboratory, what was tested, when it was tested, how it was tested. So we have no idea what it is they're being charged with, and yet their business license has been suspended. They're not able to operate. And I believe what Mr. Brown is at least told me that 80 to 85% of the other products in the store he had no issue with. So right now, we don't have any information as to what was objectionable, yet their business license has been suspended when they sell the vast majority of products that aren't in question. So because of that, we would like for their license to be reinstated.
May I?
Yeah.
So, I think any reasonable individual would look at some of the items for sale that were confiscated by the police and say, there's no way a reasonable person could consider this an appropriate sale. And I'm not speaking from a legal perspective, I'm speaking from a reasonable person perspective with a general understanding of the law. There may be some items that are up for conversation, that are up for dispute, but there are certainly some items that were not really up for conversation. I spoke with the police chief, and from the information that I received, and certainly you're free to speak with him after, regardless of how this goes, there would be some items that it's like a car shop selling, and I apologize for the analogy, but it's like a car shop selling a couple of stolen parts, but the rest of them are legitimate. Where the stolen parts surely should not be on the shelf. Similarly, items that are intended for consumption but yet are labeled a different way, or items that are intended to allow someone to pass a drug test but are labeled a different way, that's just skirting the law. If I were that business owner, I would not want that on my shelf.
But that's up for the court to decide and the police to make the case, right?
I don't think a business license should be extended to a business owner that is selling items that are clearly in violation of the law, whether or not they are labeled in a way that prevents it from being on its face, a violation of the law. I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
Mayor, we've not even been provided notice of what these particular items are that are objectionable.
Right, and
That's the problem. Anyway, Mr. Bush.
So I'm of the mind, this is not our area of expertise. We're not police and we're not judges.
You're a cop.
Well, I'm here right now. However, I don't know if these items were obtained from a vendor or if they were selling something out the back door. And it's really up to the police department to prove a case, and it's up to a judge to decide whether they've broken the law or not. It's not us. And it doesn't matter to me whether it was tennis shoes or whether it was weed. If it was packaged and it was provided, I just don't think we should be in the business. Now, maybe there's some bond we could require that states that they won't continue to sell an item that's in question, or some sort of, I don't know. That's just beyond my ability to understand, but to revoke a business license is a pretty serious thing for a business owner.
Can we hear from the chief?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Chief, I'm not hearing you. I'm sorry.
How about now?
There you go.
All right. Thanks for letting me have an opportunity to kind of clear a few things up. So first and foremost, we have not criminally charged anybody in a case. This was brought to Mr. Brown's attention after we executed a search warrant at the Irmo Vapor Shop and seized items that we were already conducting an investigation on. Because of the harmful nature of those products, I felt the need to alert the town administrator and pull the business license, recommend pull the business license while we continue to investigate this. This case comes from a complaint that we received that the business was selling products labeled as one, but actually another. So we went in an undercover capacity and purchased items, sent those off to the lab. I actually brought with me today two people from SLED, Major Frank O'Neill and Captain Wendy Bell, who holds a PhD in chemistry that can clear some things up if you want to hear from them. However, I think it's pretty clear, and I've got some handouts if you want to look at them. Some of the items that they were selling in there looks like raw marijuana. It's packaged as a product referred to as Delta 8. Yes, sir.
Somebody, not you, Chief.
Thank you. Ooh.
So once we received a complaint that they may be selling items that are illegal, we bought those items, a few of those items, sent them off to SLED. The results came back that they had Delta 9 THC above the 0.3%. That's allowed by the Farm Bill and the hemp laws and things of that nature. I also argue, though, that just having the plant-like material in any form of THC is a violation of the hemp law because it talks about not having unprocessed products out there.
Do they have an agribusiness license for hemp?
Not that we can find.
Okay.
No. Also, while we were conducting one of our undercover operations, the business, we asked one of the clerks in the business if we smoked this stuff, will we test positive for a drug test? They said, yes, you need to quit immediately. But if you take some of these other things that we have in our store, if you drink them, you can pass a drug test. So we looked at those items as well. One of those items in your packet is marketed as you pass. I can only infer that you're passing a drug test, but it may have other inferences. But it's marketed as fetish urine for novelty and research purposes only.
Fetish urine?
I guess there's a market for it, but in this state, there is a law that says you cannot sell products that alter drug tests, and that intent is presumed when you have heating pads or heating elements within those packages, which that package clearly has. So my issue with the business at that particular moment and bringing it to Mr. Brown's attention was the fact that they're not only selling harmful products, but other products that violate state law. We executed a search warrant and seized numerous products that are questionable, marketed as Delta 8, and we know from our testing that some of those products marked as Delta 8 were in fact testing not only in high levels of Delta 8, but levels of Delta 9 above the legal law. So that's why the suspension was asked for by Mr. Brown. The case is still under investigation. Again, we haven't charged anybody at this moment, but it's still under investigation.
I'd like, Mr. Danielson, anybody else? I'd like to.
I would have no idea that there's urine fetish on the market. I thought it was only in TV, but this seems pretty straightforward. I just don't know whether it's up to us to slam the hammer on them. I don't know. I've been a business owner my whole life, and I'm not sure that I wouldn't rather be criminally charged than have my business shut down for an indefinite amount of time. At least I can defend myself under that. I'm in a quandary, honestly.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, and to be clear, our personal and civil libertarians in the room, feelings aside, there is an onus on the business owner to not rely on packaging by a particular provider. Just shrug their shoulders and say, well, when the guy who sold it to me said it had less than 0.3%. Setting aside the criminal element or charges, that might happen or may not. My concern is, permanently revoking a license. That if the business owner says, "Oh, I didn't know, I'm going to remove these items from my shelves," then he's in compliance and he should be allowed to open. I feel like more like a temporary pause on their license to say, clean your act up and remove these items from your shelves is a lot better a solution than saying permanently removing their ability to have business in the town.
Yeah, if I may add, this is not a revocation hearing. That's the whole point I've been trying to make. We wanted to have this hearing because we only have one council meeting a month, and I wanted to rush it so you guys can make a decision on whether scheduling a revocation hearing 90 days out or whatever else you decide as far as keeping the suspension or removing the suspension. This is just so he can open back up. We're trying to do the guy a favor by rushing it through here.
Right.
You guys can make it, because there's no criminal charges.
Right, he's not been charged. And Chief, you said you had the sled.
It's here. It's in here.
Yeah, there's copies of the test reports in there that are highlighted
okay.
from SLED, but I also have representatives from SLED that can testify or speak on that.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Mr. Brown, is it possible to reinstate this license with the condition that they don't continue to sell these items that are in question?
Yes.
Can we just do that?
Council, you have the authority to do that.
Well, I make a motion, we do that.
Well, wait a minute. We can make the motion all we want, but is he going to do it? Is he willing to comply with that?
He would have to, really.
Well, he doesn't have to do anything. He has to die and pay taxes. But will he do it is the question.
We'll consent to that. That's no problem. As you said, a vast majority of the products in the store are not in question. If you were to walk in there today, you would almost not know that products were taken off the shelf because of the tremendous number of items still on the shelf that were confiscated.
So you're not going to have Delta 8. You're not going to have finished urine.
Certainly consent to not.
You're not going to have UPass. You're not going to have detox. You're willing to take those things off the shelf.
Anything labeled Delta 8 or urine related, we're happy to concede.
And detox.
If I might make a suggestion, any products, do you mind, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry.
If I could make a suggestion.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
If I could make a suggestion that products that may be questionable with THC levels, maybe having a third-party tester do that for them so they can show us if we go into the store that if they do have certain products, that it's been verified. Understand that whatever your guys' decision is with their license, you know, we still have an investigation to continue as well.
That's right. I mean,
That's
like I
just
said, you
giving
still
you
got to
an
bring a
option.
case, but we're trying to get them either open or saying we're not going to do that. And they're willing, it sounds like they're willing to suspend sales of those products that are questioned. Jake, can we do that?
You certainly can, especially since they consent. But one of the things you want to make it very clear, I think, is that if you do that the understanding is that you're going to expect them to clean up their act in good faith. You're not going to want products on the shelf that look like, smell like, act like, seem like marijuana light or some sort of product that appears to be a way to get around the drug laws of the state, such as urine with clean urine. You just want to make sure they have an understanding and a commitment. You'll reinstate them, but they need to understand we're going to be watching, because if I know Courtney, he will be, and that in good faith, if it looks anywhere close to something that it shouldn't, it's going to be gone. Now, what you do is just your policy. But can you do that? Yes. So long as they tell you on the record that they agree, which I think they do, you can put them back in business with the garbage off the shelves.
And we've gotten a commitment from them to do that. Anybody else, any comments? I think we're okay.
If I can just add one more, I mean, as long as they know raw hemp is not allowed in this state. So moving forward, you know, we did see within that business other tobacco products that are not questionable at all. They've got a humidor in there. They've got cigars, vape pens, all that kind of stuff. We've got no issue with that. They're legally selling those items. But anything when they started moving into the realm of THC, edibles, gummies, the detox, the fetish urine, and then all the Delta 8 products, I mean, it's all over the map on the types of products in that category that they had. All of those are in question, and my suggestion is that they not be allowed to carry those kind of products because from what we've seen, they've had products labeled as one in that category, but it is not that.
Yeah, here's the deal. If you change the labels on the product to be something else and we find out that it isn't what you label it, we got a problem. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think there's a whole act that deals with adulterated products, so absolutely.
Yeah, and certainly we agree with that. I don't, again, we're not, and this isn't a court. I would love to cross-examine on some of these issues, but that's not the time for that. I would note that there is a public record from the town of Lexington's council meeting about some of the issues that occur when trying to test these products and how the tests may not be accurate. I'm not going to get into all that. I just want to point out that we're not conceding that any illegal products were sold.
Just don't dance on the line, please. Y'all know what I mean, right? Okay. And
Thank you. Well, will the clerk read the roll for the continued suspension of their business license? Let's say that we're going to continue suspending. Is that what we're doing? Council decision on the status of the business license. Right.
We want it with caveats, and that is that they don't sell these products.
That's right.
As long as that's understood.
Is that an amendment?
So does council want to vote to open them, let them open back up? Okay. Will the clerk read?
Who's going to write the thing?
Wait a minute now, hold on.
Who's going to sign that they will take these things off the shelf?
Kathy, you got it on the record in the minutes.
Okay.
If they do it, we'll suspend them again, give them a 90 days hearing, and they're gonna wish they hadn't done it.
And to clarify, I'm sorry, Bob, a yes vote here and a no vote. Can you clarify what the affirmative and what the negative is here?
The item on the agenda is for you to come to a decision what the status of the business is. So you need to make a motion what the status is and then vote on it.
Okay.
So a yes vote says that they can reopen. A no vote says that no, there's a continuous suspension, and we're going to schedule a hearing 90 days out or 3 days out.
That sounds good.
Okay?
So can I make a motion?
I just did. Didn't, okay, go ahead, Mr. Mr.
Make a
Bush.
motion to reinstate their license with conditions.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right. Let me back up.
A
then.
lack of concession of selling illegal products.
Wait a minute, let me back up. It's been properly moved and second for the motion. Is there a discussion? Mr. Danielson?
The lack of concession of selling illegal products just changed my vote.
Lack of concession?
They're not conceding they're selling illegal product. The gentleman, the lawyer just said
If I
it.
could speak, I mean, they can't do this in an open forum or they're going to put their client
I know that.
at risk. I mean,
I know that.
nobody's going to concede in front of us.
Maybe then should have just not said anything.
Okay. Mr. Danielson, thank you. Ms. Condon?
I'm with Mr. Danielson. Just reading the warning label on here, it's obvious that something bad for you. This is more than I ever wanted to know about how to skirt the law, and not you gentlemen, but this is difficult, and I have to trust the police.
Mr. Bush?
I think I've talked enough on this.
Okay. Mr. Sickinger?
Yeah, I trust the police, but that's a criminal matter, not a civil matter. So I'm in favor of the proposed amendment.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I thought it was acceptable for them to say that they'll remove those items off the shelf that are in question. Not that they're illegal or not, but that there's in question. They will remove the items that try to evade detection of, cannabis in your system if you have it, or drug tests. They're willing to do that, is what I'm understanding. Mr. Bush made a motion to approve them reopening with those concessions. Are we not together on that as a council, that that's acceptable? If you're not, Mr. Danielson, I understand. Ms. Condon, if you're not, I understand.
I'm not.
The rest of y'all, are we not clear about that? And I mean, I'm with y'all because we are a unified council. We really, I mean, this is we're gonna mess with this guy's livelihood. So are we not with that, Mr. Danielson, Mrs. Bush, Mr. Sickinger, Mr. Bush?
Based on the conditions that the products are already off the shelf and that they're not restocked and nothing else like this goes back on the shelf. And then I'll let the police and the courts handle the potentially previous bad acts play out in court. And if they stay on the up and up, then we'll let them continue to operate business until whatever ramifications happen down the road.
Okay. In the meantime, we're gonna let them run. All right? So we had the motion that Mr. Bush made. I didn't vote yet, so I'm voting in the affirmative to approve his motion that Mr. Bush made. So that's 3-2 for the motion. Now, we're gonna vote to not to continue the suspension of the business license. Okay? Is that clear? We already voted on the amendment Mr. Bush made. So we're voting now to continue the suspension or not, based on what we said that the conditions of them continuing in their business. Are you clear, Mr. Sickinger?
No, because, point of order. The amendment was that we allow the business to reopen with the conditions.
Correct.
So therefore, point of information, a yes vote would be to allow them to reopen with conditions.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is that clear? Yes. All right. Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush,
Yay?
Ms. Condom,
This is not on the amendment? Didn't we vote on, yeah, we did.
We don't vote on the amendment.
This is-
The amendment passed
Yeah,
that he proposed.
yeah,
So we're voting on to whether or not to let them go ahead and reopen or not,
okay. Nay,
with the conditions.
got it.
Okay.
Mr. Danielson,
Nay.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
Yes. Okay. So you guys understand, when I come in there Monday morning, I don't need to see any of that stuff on your shelf.
Yes, sir. Our understanding would be the Delta 8 products and the urine masking products. If there's any other objectionable items, if
Raw hemp.
someone would let us know
Raw hemp.
what those items are so that we make sure we're in compliance with your instructions.
I would suggest you talk to your client about what items were seized when the search warrant was done.
And I think the chief can help you with that list too.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Sorry it's so long tonight, council and citizens. I never want to get into 2-hour meetings.
But this is important. A lot of this
This is reminiscence of councils in the past. And
it's okay.
at any rate, last point, appointment to the planning commission. We have one opening on the planning commission. We have several applicants. Is there a motion to appoint either Judy Deloach, Rod Rockwell, David McFarland, or Blenda Clark? One of those applicants to the planning commission.
I make a motion
Okay,
for Judy Deloach.
okay.
I'll second.
Is there another motion to appoint somebody? Seeing none, all in favor of appointment of Miss Judy Deloach to the Planning Commission, raise your right hand. All opposed, it's unanimous. Congratulations, Miss Deloach. There you are. You are the newest member of the Irmo Planning Commission. Thank you so much for sitting through all of this, citizens. If anybody is left and they want to talk to us about anything, this is your opportunity to bring it up to the council and let us hear on your mic. Is anybody here who would like to address council? Seeing none, I have one item that we've added, and that's the annexation. Mr. Moore, I need you to give us the discussion, I'm sorry. Mr. Moore, I need you to give us some direction on this. As you know, we're trying to figure out how we can annex the abandoned train tracks between St. Andrews Road, Irmo Town limits, and Bush River Road, the Dominion Power Plant. We're not actually annexing the power plant, but the train tracks that are connected to is what we're talking about annexing. The reason for that is to make us contiguous to Bush River Road and thereby preventing any other unwanted annexations from any other municipality to happen across those lines that will eventually affect the town of Irmo. Mr. Moore, we have found that the property that is going along the train tracks that ends up just before the tax map number TMS 0279805002, that's a Dominion power plant, is not any tax map. It's untaxable land. So with that being said, what is our procedure, or what do we need to do to annex, not to control it, but to get that annex into the town limits of the town of Irmo?
The law used to be, and I don't know if it still is, but it used to be if the property had no assessed value, you could assess it without a petition. It may be now that we have to have a petition to annex, but it doesn't have to be from the owner of the property. As long as it's from, three other property owners along the way, we would be able to annex it without the owner's petition. Now, the first thing that needs to happen is we know that the property has no assessed value. Thanks to you, Mr. Mayor, for going and checking that out. We also know that the property is titled in the name of the Lexington Power Company, which is the predecessor to SCENG, which is the predecessor to Dominion. So what we need is several things. First of all, I need to look at the law in regard to whether you can annex unassessed property without the necessity of a petition. I just looked at the code, and it appears it's been changed. So we probably are going to have a petition. If we have a petition 100% from Dominion, that gives us the ability to annex the property, just boom. But you're gonna have a property description, and since there's no tax map number, we need to have an engineer go out there and give us an actual property description as best he can, so that when it comes time to annex, we then need to know that Dominion will or will not sign a petition for annexation. And I also am gonna have to do a little more research to see if the law has in fact been changed to where we have to have a petition. If we have to have a petition and Dominion says no, all we gotta do is find three other property owners along the way, and we can annex it without their consent.
Annex the train track.
Yes. 75-25. 75-20, that's right. Because there is no assessed value, so all you gotta do is have three property owners.
That touch the tracks.
Yes, yes.
It's really familiar.
So,
Sound familiar, Mr. Bush?
so the first thing we need to do is to get us a property description. The next thing we need to do is to take a look and to see who owns property who are friendly to us along that track that we can talk to. I have a feeling that the track is actually bordered by our friends at Saloon Shoals. I may be wrong, but doesn't Saloon Shoals border that track somewhere? Or the Irmo,
Rec Commission,
the Rec Commission?
yeah.
The Rec Commission borders it somewhere, because
I don't think it does. This is upper St. Andrews Road.
does it border on the
Oh.
Gulfstream Country Club?
No.
All right, well, we gotta find out who borders it that would basically be willing to sign a partial petition for annexation.
Oh, this is
The McGregor Church, right.
Right.
McGregor Church is
where you
one.
turn to Carriage Lane?
Well, is McGregor in town?
No.
Well, we can get McGregor to sign, that's one.
And it goes next to Carriage Lane,
Yes.
Dr. Chavez.
I own property in Carriage Lane.
Well,
There you go.
Dr. Chavez would be,
Dr. Chavez will do it.
yeah, he would.
It's done, let's move on.
We can get it done.
Move we
The first
adjourn.
thing to do is to get the legal description. I own property in Carriage Lane, yeah. We need to get the legal description. If you could authorize Mr. Brown to get an engineer, probably would be a good thing to use, our friends at, Hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
To go get us a property description, just a rough property description drawing that works. Bob can tell them what the property is. Actually, we could probably get McGregor to do it. Who owns on the other side of the road?
Who's owns the property right on the railroad?
Bird will do it.
Yeah, and the painting guy, the roof guy,
Oh, Bergen.
Yeah,
Bergen will do it,
we
yeah.
can do this. Okay, in the,
Stewart might not do it because he's gonna pay a property, pay him the business license. But he can give us enough of his land that isn't his actual business property. That, we can take a piece of it. That'd be
yeah,
fine.
that's right. In the interest of caution, though, who's gonna write this petition?
Oh, I'll write the petition.
Okay.
But Bob and I write the petition if we can just get the. We've done a couple of them, we can do the
Okay, okay. I've been down this road, and the petition got thrown out after 5 women sweated for 2 weeks in Quail Valley to get all those signatures.
I remember
Okay,
that.
I'm never gonna forget
I remember that.
Yeah, you were one of our leaders. I'm used to following you down these roads.
Move to adjourn.
I second that.
We can't, this is discussion at this point, gentlemen, but we have discussed a action item for you to pursue, for us to have at our next council meeting, a annexation ordinance. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
On our next council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no executive session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, marathon meeting.